This is the Deseret News Sunday Edition, when your family needs to know more.
Good morning and welcome to the Deseret News Sunday Edition. I'm Dave McCann. The Sundance Film Festival wraps up tonight, and while it gets a lot of attention all over the world for the stars it attracts, the festival has also become a tool for increasing awareness of key global challenges, especially through documentaries. Here to discuss some of those films and the issues raised, reporters Carol Makita and Matt Brown. Good morning. Thank you for being here.
You're welcome.
You look stunning today.
Same right back to you, Dave.
Let's talk about these documentaries. How important are they to the Sundance Film Festival?
Well, I think it's how important is Sundance to documentaries. Those who've been with Sundance for a lot of years credit Sundance for raising that genre of film, and both short and long-form documentaries to the level that they are.
And this comes from Robert Redford himself. He loves documentaries, has participated in a few of them throughout his career, and feels that they're extremely important because they do address social issues. 4 of the 5, interestingly enough, that are up for Academy Awards came from last year's Sundance Film Festival. So they really do reach a huge audience.
Looking back in time, and you've covered the film festival for a long, long time, documentaries back in the day, have they really worked to transform our public dialogue?
I think so, yes, I think so. It took a while for people to perhaps find them or be able to relate to them, but I think documentaries are every bit as popular now thanks to Netflix, certainly PBS and others. Yeah, I think people look for them.
I think one of the issues, and we certainly cover it in the media, is the internet, and a lot of focus this year on the darker sides of the internet. You talk to directors and writers. What's your take on that?
Well, there were 2 films in particular that addressed it head-on. One was Web Junkie out of China. A couple Israeli filmmakers went to China where internet addiction is classified as a clinical disorder. So they went and they have about 400 rehabilitation camps where they send youth addicted to the internet. And they went to one that was more of a military style camp, and in addition to the treatment that was given, what I found really interesting is they went deeper and they looked at the cause of why these kids were so obsessed with gaming in particular, and they found a lot of it was dysfunctional relationships between the child and the parent.
There's a clip from Love Child. Let's take a look at it right here.
행복하게 살고 있는데 이것을 굳이 이건 현실이고 현실이 아니야라고 구분을 내가 해야 될까?
For some people, the line between the life you log on to and reality are increasingly blurred.
Online gaming addiction can be seen as a mitigating factor in crimes.
Leniency for internet addiction would be a first in the country.
Passion, I think it influences everything.
This raises a possibly very interesting and far-reaching legal precedent.
South Korea is so far in advance when it comes to internet technology. Online addiction will become an issue for everyone.
가상현실은 디자인되는 겁니다. 어떤 자기 자아 구현을 위해서 저는 가상현실에 간다고 보지, 그게 현실 도피적 차원에서 간다고는 보지 않습니다. 현실 세상의 가상실 세상들이 투영이 되고 합쳐져서 결국은 믹스가 되는 거거든요. 그것이 더 얘네가 행복하게 하지 않을까.
As part of the couple's defense, their lawyer argued the two are addicted to online gaming.
인터넷 가상 공간에 너무 빠져 있다 보니까 현실 세계하고 좀 구분을 못해서
95% of households in South Korea boast broadband internet connection, compared to 60% in the U.S.
정부가 대책을 내놓았습니다. 먼저 일정 시간 이상 게임을 지속할 경우
게임 역시 그 안에서 충분히 세상을 바꿀 수 있을 만한 파괴력을 또는 영향력을 가지면서 그런 긍정적인 기능이 있어요.
Their daughter's name was Sarang, which means love in Korean.
사실 이제 그 인터넷을 어떻게 하면은 올바르게 사용할 수 있느냐.
Public reaction to this, what was it?
Well, in Korea, I remember when this story broke in 2010, where the parents were charged and convicted with the death of their child because they were so absorbed with raising a virtual child through a game. But you know, this director went further. She really explored the several layers of responsibility in society for why this happened, both primarily looking at Korea's world-class IT infrastructure, and then game developers who develop games that are supposed to, they employ psychologists to make sure they really grab the gamer. And it was just a really interesting documentary that looked at, okay, we've created this great infrastructure, the internet is a great tool, but it can be misused, and how do we deal with that?
What ended up happening to the parents?
They were convicted. The father was convicted of 2 years, served 1 year. The mother's sentence was stayed because she was pregnant with a second child. But they had sworn off the internet.
Another popular topic, education at Sundance.
Yes, and there's a film this year called Ivory Tower. With the cost of tuition and loans, many families are asking the question, is college worth it?
What did you grasp from it?
Well, it's as I said, the conversation that so many families are having, unfortunately, because you and I, well, Matt as well know how much a college degree does for someone in terms of where you wish to go in business, in your career. Still, to this day, we are not at the point where the conversation is, well, where can we get without the college degree? However, people are wringing their hands over the traditional classroom situation and what am I learning here? It's a waste of my time and your money, Mom and Dad, or the money I earned to go to college, and how am I ever in my lifetime going to pay back these loans?
Well, student loans have been a political issue in the news, certainly, for the last couple of election cycles.
So it's one of those social issues very much discussed today.
Education, now let's go to religion. There's always religious films popping up, and what about the overnighters?
That was one of a few films I noticed that focused on the role of clergy in the community. And in this case, it was this is a documentary where a pastor in a small town in North Dakota was in conflict with the community and his congregation for housing out-of-towners who were coming in looking for work in the North Dakota oil fields where there's a boom. And it really explores the real-life tensions and decisions a pastor needs to make.
Well, which is interesting because there's a pastor in every neighborhood or every town in America, sometimes a whole bunch of them. And so does this kind of take us into their world?
Oh yeah, I mean this Pastor Jay, he's constantly second guessing himself, knowing he's got this role to take care of people who are in need, yet he was housing some sex offenders, and he knew that there were real, legitimate safety concerns in the community and among his congregation, so he's constantly weighing those things. He ends up leaving the ministry. I won't spoil it by telling you why, but it's really a surprise ending.
All right, well, speaking of getting inside people's lives, of course, Mitt got a lot of headlines, and then opening night and all of that stuff, the documentary on Mitt Romney. You talked with the director, Greg Whiteley. What was the response for this one?
Well, he is so very excited that it created so much buzz even before that premiere that happened here in Salt Lake City. After spending 7 years with this family, he took a great deal of time in the editing process, but he also said that he believes the ultimate project that he put forth shows people a very different side of Mitt Romney.
Okay, over here, please, over here.
Mitt and Ann Romney with granddaughter Allie posed for photographers on the red carpet.
That's the guy that did the film, Greg Whiteley.
The former Republican presidential candidate turned Sundance star.
I don't think Sundance is known as an ultra-right-wing organization. The fact that they would select the film to be shown at Sundance is a great tribute to Greg Whiteley.
I just can't believe you're going to lose. Yeah. So what do you think you say in a concession speech?
For 7 years, through both presidential campaigns, the Romneys allowed a filmmaker to follow them and their family members through all of their personal experiences behind the scenes.
If you get too close to the pole, you just jump out, okay? Just jump. You just roll out.
This is an exclusive clip for KSL. Why did Mitt and Ann say yes to the documentary Mitt?
Mitt Romney has raised my cachet in my wife's family's eyes.
Earlier today, Greg Whiteley told me when he began editing, he realized he had something unique.
My take is most people that will come and see this film, whether they liked Mitt Romney or whether they disliked Mitt Romney, they will see a side that they are not used to seeing, a side they have not seen.
He loves film.
After the first screening, we got some audience reaction.
I thought the film showed a lot of personal and heartwarming part of the Romney family.
Are you going to iron it on? Seriously?
It was a nice way to see a human side of, such a public figure.
Mitt, the public's response to Mitt, what's it been like?
Well, certainly that opening night reaction, they had 2 screenings, and so everyone was really anxious to see it. And I think for the most part, people thought it was quite intriguing. And what's happening now is that political reporters are so very jealous of what Greg Whiteley did. Haven't they been asking for however many decades they've been working? Could we follow you around? Even for a week, I'm sure.
So that's now available on Netflix.
It is.
People can see that all over the place. Now, as you saw it, was it tough to watch a program like that when you knew the ending?
No, because, I mean, the thing that Greg did is he usually in political campaigns, the family's off limits.
Right.
Yeah. And these documentaries just focus on strategy and things like that. But in this case, Greg said the campaign wanted nothing to do with him.
Right.
And so he had to turn his camera to the family, and he came up with something very unique.
On the Today Show, Mitt Romney said this week that he thinks everyone who reaches that point in a presidential race ought to be forced to have a 90-minute documentary made, and everybody needs to watch it.
I would think it would be tough to watch a 90-minute documentary about yourself.
Right. Oh, I think so, yeah.
And maybe it'd bore you to death because you're like, hey, I've been there, done that. What other films at Sundance this year on top of your minds?
Well, there are other social issues being talked about. Another one called Fed Up, about food and weight loss, and it's the underlining word is misleading the American public about what really is healthy and what is not, and the hidden factor here is sugar. And mothers of young children know that they're always struggling with how much sugar does it have. It doesn't necessarily mean it's healthy.
Alive Inside and the power of music.
Really fascinating movie about a social worker who has an interest in patients with Alzheimer's and dementia, and takes simply an iPod Nano and some headphones and puts them on these patients, plays music that's of their younger generation, and these people just come alive.
When I think of Robert Redford, I think of Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. What about Sundance Kids and the development of that area?
Right, this is a new initiative this year. 2 children's films. Obviously, they have to grow a younger generation, so it's a wise idea. You've seen Ernest and Celestine.
Yes.
So what is this to the adult crowd going to Sundance? What is this trying to do?
Well, I think it's like what bringing foreign films in does. I think to most people, kids' movies, we think of Disney. But outside of the United States, they do it in a very different way. And this, for example, this Ernest and Celestine, it's in watercolor. It's not in these bright Pixar, real-life-looking characters. And I really think foreign films can have success here. They're discounted because sometimes you need subtitles and things. But my daughters watched Ernest and Celestine in French with subtitles and didn't miss a beat. And they loved it, yeah.
And the other one's a Spanish film. So
Zip Zap
and the Marble Gang.
Yes. Is there still anything more touching, more knocking down barriers than a good movie? Does a movie still just deliver all the goods across the board? Is that why we have a Sundance and why we can look in the paper and there's 50 movies in there trying to get our $8?
It's a powerful medium.
It is.
And the quality just, I don't know if it's the equipment or just the craft is improving, but the quality is, it just gets better every year.
It really does. And as you say, films stay with you. You remember more even from films than you do from books, I think. It may be a cultural, a generational thing. But if you have plans to go to Sundance any year, documentaries, that should be your aim.
These movies we've talked about today, when will they be available for the average guy like myself with not a super pass to find at the online or Netflix or while I go to the video stores while they still exist? Where can we get a hold of those?
It may take a few months.
Okay.
MIT comes out, obviously, and that was already purchased before the Sundance Film Festival. All of these have not been. They find distributors here in Park City or beyond that. So sometimes it's a wait.
All right.
Yeah, and in one screening I sat next to a Netflix buyer. So they're looking. They go up there and look around and see what they want to.
Matt and Carol, thank you very much. Appreciate your insight as another Sundance Film Festival comes to an end in Utah. You can read more about these films in the family and media sections at DeseretNews.com. Up next, every month you may be getting charged for things that sneak onto your cable or internet bills. We're going to show you how to get rid of these unnecessary charges when Deseret News Sunday Edition continues.